back to my channel. Today is Freaky Friday and I have for you the top 10 standout female killers. This is going to be something different for us today on this channel and I am very excited about this video. I worked very hard on it and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and leave some comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and ring the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you guys know every time I upload a new video. I'm going to tell you guys the top 10 most standout female killers. Number 1, Andrea Yates. Andrea Yates was born on July 2nd, 1964 in Houston, Texas. She was treated for postpartum depression and psychosis, and after the birth of her 5th child, went into a severe depression. On June 20th, 2001, she drowned all 5 of her children in the bathtub. She was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life, but a court of appeals reversed this conviction and found her insane. In 1999, Yates was treated for postpartum depression and psychosis, illnesses that ran in her family. After the birth of her 5th child and the death of her father, she went into a severe depression and was forcefully admitted to a treatment network. There, Dr. Mohammed Saeed prescribed a series of psychotropic drug treatments. He also abruptly tapered off the antipsychotic Haldol, a medication that helped Andrea recover in 1999. On June 20th, 2001, during the hour between her husband leaving for work and her mother-in-law arriving, Andrea Yates drowned all 5 of her children, one by one, in her bathtub. Then later, she laid them next to each other on her bed, except Noah, who was found in the bathtub. She called her husband at work and said that the kids had been hurt. When he asked which one, she said all of them. Then she called 911. Upon arrival at the family home, Andrea opened the front door to the police officer and told him, "I killed my kids." She led him upstairs where he discovered John, Luke, Paul, and Mary laid in the master bedroom on the bed, soaking wet with a sheet placed over them, and 7-year-old Noah was found in the bathtub. Andrea was immediately taken into custody. "If I didn't do it, they would be tormented by Satan," she told them. And on July 26, 2006, Yates was found not guilty by reason of insanity and was transferred to Kerrville State Hospital in 2007. Number 9, Aileen Wuornos. An abused child who later earned her living as a sex worker, Aileen Wuornos, was found guilty of killing 6 men and was later executed in a Florida prison. Serial killer Aileen Wuornos was sexually abused and thrown out of her home as a teen. Having been involved in previous incidents with the law, she made a living as a sex worker on Florida's highways. And in 1989, she killed the man who had picked her up. She went on to kill at least 5 other men and was eventually caught, convicted, and placed on death row. Though her sanity was questioned, Wuornos was executed by lethal injection in 2002. In addition to documentaries, books, and an opera, her story was told in the 2003 film Monster. Number 8, Dorothea Puentes. Dorothea Helena Puentes was an American convicted serial killer. In the 1980s, Puentes ran a boarding house in Sacramento, California, and murdered her elderly and mentally disabled boarders before cashing their Social Security checks. Her total count reached 9 confirmed murders and 6 unconfirmed. Newspapers dubbed Puentes the Death House landlady. Her motives for killing tenants were financial, with police estimates of ill-gotten income totaling more than $5,000 per month. No one suspected that the sweet-faced grandmotherly Puente was systematically drugging and killing her frail boarders and burying their remains in her yard that she so lovingly tended. With her careful exterior, she got away with murder for years. On November 11, 1988, police inquired after the disappearance of tenant Alberto Montoya, a developmentally disabled man with schizophrenia whose social worker had reported him missing. After noticing disturbed soil on the property, they uncovered the body of tenant Leona Carpenter, 78 years old. 7 bodies were eventually found on the property. Puente was charged with a total of 9 murders. Puente's boyfriend Everson Gilmore, 77, and 8 tenants who lived in the boarding house: Ruth Monroe, Leona Carpenter, Alberto Gonzalez, Dorothy Miller, Benjamin Fink, James Gallup, Vera Faye Martin, and Betty Palmer. She was convicted of 3 murders and sentenced to 2 life sentences. Ever since 1988 to 2011, she served life without parole, and she did pass away in 2011 of natural causes. Number 7. Katherine Knight. On February 29, 2000, Katherine Knight, 45 years old, grabbed her prized set of butcher knives and applied a lifetime of skill she'd learned working in a slaughterhouse to finally ending a series of arguments with her living boyfriend, 44-year-old John Price. Knight had physically abused Price for years, with the attacks escalating when he refused to marry her. On the very last day of his life, in fact, Price took out a restraining order against her. He told co-workers that if he did not show up the next day, it would be because Knight had murdered him. Well, John Price definitely did not show up for work the next day. Price's employers called the police, who broke into his home. Officers found Katherine Knight unconscious after an apparent suicide attempt from overdosing on pills. Price turned up in pieces all over the apartment. Knight had stabbed Price 37 times and meticulously removed his skin all in one piece, which she then hung up on the stove. Price's head bubbled in a stew with cabbage, potatoes, pumpkin, and zucchini. But the intended feast did not end there. Knight set a dining room table with servings of baked potatoes, vegetables, and gravy mixed with prime pieces of Price's buttocks. On top of each plate sat a card bearing the names of Price's children. Katherine Mary Knight is the first Australian woman to be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole and is currently serving at the Silverwater Women's Correctional Center in New South Wales. Number 6. Diane Downs. Diane Downs is a convicted murderer responsible for shooting all her 3 children. Diane met co-worker Robert Knickerbocker, the man of her dreams. The relationship was all-consuming, and Diane wanted Knickerbocker to leave his wife. Feeling suffocated by her demands and still in love with his wife, Nick ended their relationship, telling her the relationship was over and that he had no interest in being a daddy to her children. On May 19, 1983, at around 10 p.m., Diane pulled over the side of a quiet road in Springfield, Oregon, and shot her 3 kids multiple times. She then shot herself in the arm and drove slowly to the Mackenzie Willamette Hospital. The hospital staff found Cheryl dead and Danny and Christy barely alive. Diane told doctors and the police that the children were shot by a bushy-haired man who flagged her down on the road and then tried to hijack her car. When she refused, the man began shooting her children. Detective found Diane's story suspicious and her reaction to police questionings and to hearing the conditions of her children inappropriate and odd. She voiced surprise that the bullet that hit Danny's spine and not his heart. She seemed more concerned about getting in touch with Knickerbocker rather than informing the children's father or asking about their condition. And Diane talked a lot, too much for someone who has suffered such a dramatic event. Diane's story of the events of that tragic night failed to hold up under forensic investigation. The blood spatters in the car did not match the version of what she said happened, and the gunpowder residue was not found where it should have been. Diane's arm, although broken when shot, was superficial compared to that of her children. It was also discovered that she failed to admit to owning a .22 caliber handgun, which was the same type used at the crime scene. Diane's diary was found during a police search, and it helped piece everything together. The motive she would have for shooting her children. In her diary, she wrote obsessively about her love of her life, Robert Knickerbocker, and of particular interest was the part of him not wanting to raise children. There was also a unicorn found which Diane had purchased just days after the children were shot. Each of the children's names had been inscribed on it, almost as if it was a shrine to their memory. A man came forward who said he had to pass Diane on the road the night of the shooting because she was driving so slow. This conflicted with Diane's story to the police, in which she said she sped in terror to the hospital. But the most telling evidence was that of her surviving daughter, Christy, who for months was unable to speak due to a stroke she suffered from the attack. During the times that Diane would visit her, Christine would show signs of fear and her vital signs would spike. When she was able to speak, she eventually told prosecutors that there was no stranger and that it was her mother who did the shooting. The jury found Diane Downs guilty on all charges. On June 17, 1984, she was sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years. Diane Downs is currently incarcerated at the Valley State Prison for Women in Chowchilla, California. Number 4, Amanda Knox. Amanda Marie Knox is an American woman who spent almost 4 years in an Italian prison following her conviction for the 2007 murders of Meredith Kercher, a fellow exchange student who shared her apartment in 2015. Knox was definitively acquitted by the Italian Supreme Court of Cassation. Knox arrived at her home later, telling police that she noticed the front door was open and there was dry blood in the bathroom. After calling police, the body of the roommate Meredith was found inside her locked bedroom. Meredith Kercher was born in London in 1985, with the young woman moving to Italy to study in the University of Perugia. The 21-year-old was last seen on November 1st of that year, with her body found in a pool of blood in her bedroom the next day. A police officer who investigated the murder said that Miss Knox and her Italian boyfriend Raphael behaved inappropriately as they were waiting to be questioned. A few days after the killing, they said that Amanda did splits and cartwheels in one of the rooms at the station, and then later, after she'd been questioned all night, she burst into tears. The couple had strange attitudes, Detective Profacio said, adding that Miss Knox sat on her boyfriend's lap. He told them it was inappropriate. Amanda Knox claimed that she was hit on the head during her interrogation. Miss Knox's defense team claimed she was unfairly pressured into signing a rambling confession after being questioned through the night on November 5th to 6th without access to a lawyer or a translator. On December 5th, 2009, Knox, by then was 22, was convicted of charges of faking a break-in, defamation, sexual violence, and murder, and was sentenced to 26 years in prison. Her boyfriend was sentenced to 25 years. Court ordered review the contested DNA evidence by independent expert noticed numerous basic errors in the gathering and analysis of the evidence, and concluded that no evidence trace of Kercher's DNA had been found on the alleged murder weapon, which police had found in Sausalito's kitchen. Forensics police examined showed evidence of multiple male DNA fragments on the bra clasp had been lost on the floor for 47 days. The court-appointed expert testified the context strongly suggested contamination. On October 3, 2011, Knox and Salicito was found not guilty of the murder. Number 3, Rachel Wade. Rachel Wade is an American woman who was convicted of murder in the second degree in the murder of Sarah Ludeman. Rachel Wade and Sarah Ludeman were romantic rivals. The rivalry began after Rachel's breakup with Joshua Camacho. Josh began seeing Sarah, much to Rachel's displeasure. In the first 6 months Sarah was with Josh, Pinellas Park police officers spoke to Sarah 6 times regarding public confrontations with Josh. She got into verbal arguments with the mother of Josh's child. Josh punched Sarah in the face, but Sarah did not press charges. Rachel and Sarah left insulting voicemails for each other. The rivalry quickly turned violent. They began to harass one another, and according to Rachel, Sarah would show up at an Applebee's where Rachel worked and taunt her. During one incident, Sarah told police that Rachel repeatedly called her on the phone and left threatening voicemails. On the evening of April 14th, authorities said that Rachel was home alone waiting for Josh. While Rachel was outside walking her dog, she heard a car honk, and she stated that Sarah yelled, "Stay away from my man." Rachel said that she was scared and she decided to call her old boyfriend Javier. He told her to come over to his house. She got her purse, opened a kitchen drawer, and pulled out a steak knife. At 11 p.m., Rachel approached Josh's house. He and Sarah were inside playing video games. Rachel sent Josh a text message saying, "Now I know why you're not talking to me, because you got hurt." Josh replied, "That's right, I don't like you no more. Why don't you go home?" Which later turned out to be Sarah writing the text and not Josh. Rachel responded, "No, I'll wait for her to go home." Just before midnight, Sarah received a text from her dad telling her to come home, that it was past her curfew. When she was going to go home, Josh's sister asked for a ride to McDonald's. On the way to McDonald's, Sarah saw a friend at a stop sign who told her that Rachel was at Javier's house. Sarah decided to confront her. Rachel testified that Sarah slammed on her brakes, nearly hitting her, and storming out of the car with her fists flailing. Rachel said that she was fearful when she stabbed Sarah's shoulder and chest. One blow punctured her heart. Sarah was mortally wounded and clutched her chest. She called Josh to tell him what happened instead of calling 911 or her father. Josh ran to Sarah's home to tell her father, and Sarah died as a result of a heart puncture at the hospital and was pronounced dead at 2:20 a.m. the next morning. Police arrived and began questioning Rachel and the witnesses. She began to cry when they told her Sarah had died. Hours later, Rachel was arrested and charged with murder in the second degree. She was booked into Pinellas County Jail. The defense argued self-defense under Florida's Stand Your Ground law. Rachel's attorney stated that Sarah was very upset and that Rachel was fearful because Sarah was bigger and that her friends outnumbered her. He brought up the incident at Applebee's in which Sarah and her friends knocked Rachel straight over and sang Girl Fight during a karaoke and taunted her. He also stated that the two girls fought before the stabbing and pulled each other's hair. The witnesses who testified for the prosecution was Josh's sister and Dustin Grimes. Javier testified for the defense. Javier stated that the two fought but admitted that he didn't see much of the incident. Josh's sister and Mr. Grimes testified that Wade was the one who approached the vehicle and stabbed Sarah. The jury heard the voicemails in which Sarah saved 8 months prior, which Rachel stated that she was going to kill her. This ultimately sealed her fate, as the jury of 5 men and 1 woman took just 2.5 hours to find her guilty of murder in the second degree. On September 3rd, 2010, Rachel Wade was sentenced to 27 years in prison. 2. Jodi Arias. Jodi Arias was convicted of brutally murdering her ex-boyfriend Travis Alexander at his Arizona home in 2008 in California. Jodi Arias made headlines when she was charged with murdering her ex-boyfriend Travis Alexander in June 2018. After the gruesome, salacious details surrounding the murder were revealed, Arias testified during the 2013 trial that she had killed Alexander in self-defense. She was found guilty of first-degree murder and later sentenced to life in prison after 2 juries deadlocked on whether to impose the death penalty. On June 9, 2008, Travis Alexander's body was found in a pool of blood in the shower of his Mesa, Arizona's home by his friends, who had become increasingly worried about his whereabouts. Almost immediately after entering the residence, the young man began taking in the heinous crime. In the bathroom, they found Alexander with a gunshot wound to the head, more than 24 stab wounds, and a deeply and widely slit throat. Investigators later discovered that the murder had occurred 5 days before his body was found on June 4, 2008. Arias quickly became the focus of the investigation. She was indicted on first-degree murder charges on July 9, 2008, and arrested in California soon after. Arias initially denied any involvement in the killing, despite the discovery of her DNA mixed with Alexander's blood at the crime scene. But she later changed her story, claiming that she and her ex had been attacked by 2 masked intruders. After killing Alexander, the criminals decided to let her live, she told police, adding that she chose not to alert authorities at the time because she feared the intruders might seek revenge. Later, police found out Travis had broken up with Jodi and was planning to take another woman on vacation instead of Jodi, which sent her over the edge. On April 13, after expressing remorse for her actions in a statement, Arias received life sentence without the possibility of parole after 25 years. Number 1. Casey Anthony. Been the center of a sensational murder trial, Casey Anthony is best known for her connection to the mysterious disappearance of her daughter Kaylee. Casey stepped into the national spotlight after the suspicious disappearance of her daughter Kaylee in June 2008. As her story unfolded, which included a terrible family life, an array of deceptions, and criminal conduct, many believe she was unquestionably guilty. The jury, however, felt different due to the evidence considered to them to be circumstantial. Anthony was acquitted of the murder charge in 2011, found herself hated by the general public. In mid-June 2008, where her suitability as a mother called in question by Cindy, her mother, Casey left her parents' home after a major argument, taking Kaylee with her. Over the next week, Cindy called her daughter to check on Kaylee. Each time, Casey told her that the little girl was out with a babysitter, Zendaya, called Zanny. On July 13, 2008, Cindy and George Anthony received a letter stating that Casey's car was in a tow yard, When George went to pick up the car, he found Casey's purse along with Casey's car seat and toys. George noticed a strong smell, like that of organic matter decomposing, coming from the trunk. Alarmed, Cindy found Casey at the home of her boyfriend, Tony Lazaro, and brought her home. Casey broke down, telling her mother and brother that she had left Kaylee with the nanny, Zanny, in Orlando on June 16, and that Zanny, who is Zendaya Fernandez Gonzalez, had kidnapped the toddler. On July 15, 31 days after the 2-year-old Kaylee's disappearance, Cindy Anthony reported her missing in the Orange County Sheriff's Office. After questioning Casey, detectives found discrepancies in a signed statement she made about Kaylee's disappearance. Casey's friends and family had never heard of Zanny, and detectives later discovered that in fact there was no nanny. The investigators called Casey in another lie when she told them that she worked at Universal Studios, even leading them around the theme park. Casey finally admitted she had never worked for Universal Studios. The search for Kaylee intensified. Casey came under increasing scrutiny for her actions the day before Kaylee was reported missing, including partying, and in early July getting a tattoo that reads Bella Vita, or Beautiful Life in Italian. She was arrested on July 16, and on December 11, 2008, meter reader Roy Kronk found a plastic bag of human remains in a wooded area near the Anthony's home. The skull had duct tape on it. On December 19th, the remains were confirmed to be those of Kaylee Anthony. On July 5th, the jury found Casey Anthony not guilty of first-degree murder, aggravated manslaughter, and aggravated child abuse, citing that mostly circumstantial evidence was presented. She was found guilty on 4 counts of providing false information to law enforcement authorities and sentenced to 4 years in jail and a $4,000 fine. Anthony ultimately received credit for her time served and good behavior, having been in prison for 3 years and 1 day. She was released on July 17th. Anyway guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I see you guys in my next video. Bye.